Oh, that button means that we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream and also a recording of the Streamline podcast. So if you hear me referring to the podcast, it's because we're doing two things at once here. And we are also live and we are going to be doing Q&As as well. So first, let me record the introduction for the podcast, introduce my guest, and then let's go with it. Welcome to the latest episode of the Streamline podcast. My guest today is Evan Price. Evan is an artist manager and the founder of Artist Collective. Evan, welcome.
What's up, Mike? Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. I'm so glad we were able to connect this early in the year as well. It's very cool to see how enthusiastic you were where everyone else is still recovering or still in holiday mode on vacation.
Right. Yeah. I kind of just wanted to hit the ground running in 2020, just with new endeavors and just ideas that I have. And I saw all the posts going on where it's like, you don't have to wait until 2020. You can start right now. And I was inspired for that. I was like, you know what? They're right. I don't need to go out for New Year's Eve. I can just kind of plot and hit the ground running. So, yeah, I'm glad that we could set this up now.
Very cool. And I'm glad you're here as well. So for anyone that isn't familiar with yourself or Artist Collective, could you give us sort of a bit of an introduction?
Sure. So Artist Collective is primarily an artist development company. And instead of focusing immediately on developing artists on Spotify or getting their numbers up per se, we really like to focus on, the interworkings of an artist first and developing that brand from the ground up. By that, I mean focusing on their super fans, figuring out what their why is first before even worrying about distributing the music. Like a lot of those why questions aren't even answered a lot of times because artists kind of skip that. So we believe in continuing your knowledge in the music business, whether you're an independent artist or you have an artist manager or whatever it is. You should always be on the lookout for how things are changing in the industry through branding, through revenue streams and social media. Those change so quickly now. So it's important to keep your knowledge up when it comes to things like that. So through our membership, artists that are on board with Artist Collective get weekly live videos, such as what you and I are doing right now, with industry professionals from all walks of life, and also strategies. So like walkthroughs as simple as here's how you distribute on DistroKid to here's how we look for blogs and database these things. So just any kind of strategy and education possibilities, we want to feed that directly to artists so they can kind of refocus on getting back to the music and focusing on their music career.
Very cool. And part of the reason why we sort of clicked so quickly when we first connected at CD Baby DIYCon in Austin, Texas. I feel like almost every story from 2019 started with in Austin, Texas at CD Baby DIYCon. It's just, It's mind blowing how many people I connected with there, but shout out to CD Baby as always. So, obviously what you've developed is pretty mind blowing. You've got an online community of artists where not only are you supporting them, but they're supporting each other and everybody is sharing and everybody is learning together. I've fortunate enough to have been granted access so I could go and actually check out Artist Collective myself as well. So did you build it all by yourself or have you been working with a partner as well?
Yeah, I have. So I have two other partners on board. One's name's Vinny Hines and the other's is Stephen Lynn. And we were kind of all childhood friends. One of them was the bassist in my metal band that I was in back in the day. The other one is just a friend for a while, and I actually managed his career leading up to the creation of Artist Collective. So we just kind of have our expertise and our specialties, and we kind of just build it together, just all with that one why, which is just getting artists back to the music. But yeah, there's three of us.
Very cool. That's awesome. And you're not just focused on Artist Collective. You also manage, I know I'm aware of at least one artist that you manage, correct?
I manage only one act right now.
Okay.
And I know that that's kind of some of the topics we were going to talk about with artist management on like what you should be looking for in a manager and things like that. Because the manager has to be pretty, close to the artist. I think it's really important to be very hyper focused, unless you're like Justin Bieber status, something like that, where a manager can manage 10 acts and they're like only dipping a little bit and just like connecting the dots. But if the manager is like the only other part of your team, I think it's really important to have them be very focused. So yeah, I only manage one act right now. His name is Austin Fillmore. He's a hip hop artist here in Chicago. Huge catalog, really big when it comes to performing at festivals, has a lot of energy. So it's just a well-rounded act that I was just a fan of the music of first and foremost. And I just see a lot of different possibilities with his brand, including his music, of course. But
fantastic. So when did you get into management? How did that come about?
Well, I mentioned my metal band a little bit ago. I ended up just becoming the manager, but I was also the drummer. There were 6 of us and none of us really knew, we were all just figuring it out. And I kind of ended up stepping up and just being like, cool, I like to organize stuff. So this is perfect. So I kind of tried it. And that was kind of my dip in the pond of management and just the music business in general. And I was just found that I really enjoyed the process of, even scheduling dates and following up with contacts and just all of the managerial behind the scenes work that isn't really talked about too much in the industry, but it's important to keep the gears turning. But I enjoyed it. And to be honest, I enjoyed it more than I did performing. So I kind of stepped away from the band and kind of focused on building my knowledge as an artist manager and just a music entrepreneur.
Very cool. And you still get to be part of the process. You still get to be part of the fun as well. So, why not? If that's where your heart is and that's what you enjoy, I'm glad you went with it.
Yeah. I really liked it. Yeah. I moved to Chicago and just went to Columbia College for a couple years. And I was able to really dive in with certain artists here in the city. And it's just like a cultural megapod. So I really enjoyed the experience. I was able to work with like a pretty well-known blues artist in town, which I had never even understood how the blues like scene worked. So it was just cool for me to be able to get outside of just being a manager for a metal band to experience all these different other pieces of the industry. I was a promoter. I was an agent. I did merch. I did marketing for a promotion company. So I did a lot of different things and wore all the different hats, which as a manager, you need to at least understand what those workings are. Like, cool, if I need to get booked at a festival, what's the title of the person you need to talk to? What is a talent buyer? And so if you weren't familiar with that and you consider yourself an artist manager and you just weren't unsure, you were unsure at this point, you might just try to contact the bartender when the bartender really isn't necessarily the person who's going to book the shows. So just understanding where all these different connections lead and being able to follow up, I think I just fell in love with it.
It sure sounds like it. And I guess starting at the beginning, so I'd like to address this early on. So many artists out there feel that they need a manager as soon as they create music. As soon as they've finished that first track, they go, right, now I need a manager so I can go out and get gigs. Obviously, I have my own opinion on that, which I've expressed many times before. But I guess what I'd like to hear from you is, when do you feel is the right time for an artist to seek management or feel that they now need to go and find a manager?
I think a lot of that does take a lot of self-awareness. And that's another piece of, that's another thing that we like to teach at Artist Collective, on top of just, Spotify promotion and this and that, but like being a more self-aware, conscious artist. And you really have to look down and say, do I want an artist manager because I don't want to do the managerial work? Or do I really feel so overwhelmed that I need assistance? And most of the time, it's the first one. It's that I don't want to chalk it up and say laziness, but It's just they just don't feel like they should have to go and do the business related tasks. So if you're like, hey, I'm hustling, I'm calling clubs, I'm trying to get on playlists, I'm constantly educating myself through all the different portals that we have, Artist Collective, your community, several other communities that I know out there that are trying to educate artists to be independent. If you are doing all of those things and you're like, I am so overwhelmed with that on top of creating music, I need assistance. Whether you're making a dime yet or not, if you feel that, then maybe it is time to be a manager. But if you really look at yourself and you see that you're not doing as much as you could be doing, you're not giving it your best in terms of business managerial stuff, then maybe you should think of going that route first.
Completely agree. It's, I guess one thing that I always seem to come across is artists that feel that they need a manager right off the bat. As soon as they have any hint of success, sometimes just even getting their first song out to the world, they feel that now they're ready. I always say, you need to get a taste of this for yourself first. Pretty much with anything in the music industry, you need to do it yourself first so that you understand why you need somebody else. And also, when it gets to that point where you are that busy, perhaps you have started booking your own shows and you're booking 10 plus shows a month, all in different venues around your city, your state. Perhaps you're going into state a few times a year, which is fantastic. And then it gets to the point where you're too busy, but you've got all these opportunities coming your way. That might be the time where a manager might actually find you as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's definitely good to get your opinion on that as well, because obviously everyone's at different stages and everyone has different goals. But I guess there's different types of management out there as well that we could discuss. I mean, would you like to break down some of the different types of managers that an artist could potentially work with at some point in their career?
Yeah, I mean, if you're first starting out, a lot of times what happens is you might see up and coming artists have what I call at least momagers, which are usually a family member, their mom, their uncle, Steve, who was in the industry 30 years ago, just like your brother-in-law that loves what you're doing. Like, those are great starting out to help you kind of manage your time. And then you can kind of graduate to like the super fan managers. By that, I mean the managers that come to you and they're like, hey, we're not related. I just really love your music and I see potential in you and I see potential in your music and your catalog and all of these different various things regarding your brand. And I want to see you succeed. I know you're probably not making much money now, but let's work something out because I'm hungry for your success just as much as you are. And then you'll have the managers that I feel like a lot of artists are looking for right off the bat, which is those managers that have the connections that can make 12 calls and you're an instant star. Like those are rare. So I guess you're not always, those are kind of the three main stages that I see. And so it's more not that artists that I speak with are that middle ground. And I consider myself as a manager, I consider myself about that second one as well. I got some good connections here in Chicago and throughout the US, but it's not going to be an overnight success thing. I want to be the people that I manage. I want to make sure that I'm a fan and I see potential, and I'm not there necessarily for the money. I'm there for, the passion of managing an act from here to here. So I think it's just important to, again, self-awareness. Where am I? Do I not even have a song released? And, my Uncle Steve says that I'm really good and he wants to help me. Cool. Maybe that's the manager I should start with instead of trying to knock down doors of, the Scooter Brauns of the world saying, will you manage me? I have a good song. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah. I think a lot of artists too, whether it be the documentaries that are coming out every week on Netflix about a different rapper, I think a lot of times it kind of brainwashes people thinking that a manager is just going to completely come in and change their career. It's like it takes some hustle on your end too. Like, yeah, they can help you connect the dots and they can help polish you up and make you more presentable to, you know, those big wigs that you want to get in front of or whatever. But in the end, it comes down to your hustle as well. Yours as in the artist. So just understand that it's a team type of thing instead of, oh, cool, I got a manager. Now I can just make music and do nothing. Like at least the people I work with, I want them to, you know, match my hustle. I mean, typical manager is going to take anywhere from 10 to 20% of your earnings. The manager, so that means in my mind, that means the artist needs to be doing at least 80% more work, or at least give 80% more hustle, because you can't expect for that manager to walk away with 15% and they're doing everything to connect the dots. So look at it, if you want to look at it from strictly a money piece, your manager's taking 15% of what you make, then you would have to be making $100,000 a year for the manager to only be taking $15,000. Like that's not even normal amount. You know what I mean? So when you look at it like that, and most artists I talk to are not making $100,000 on their music. So when you look at it that aspect, it's like, oh, well, maybe a manager wouldn't want to come in because there's not really anything there in value right now. But so I think it's important to, if you think you need a manager, you're probably in that second tier where you're ready for a hungry manager. So look to your fans. Look to your fans and find that super fan that's just, you know, that has a desire in the music industry, that's always at your shows and it's really like about your music. That's the type of manager that you want. I always say, look for the passion and not the connections. You want somebody that's going to be, you know, that's going to constantly be, you know, looking on Twitter for opportunities for you. If you're looking for the manager, if you find the manager that's only after that paycheck, it's going to bite you in the ass in the end. It is.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Because it's a truth, but nobody will care about your music more than you do. And that should always be the way anyway, for any artist. If somebody cares about your music more than you do, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
So to find somebody who is close to that level of passion is pretty amazing. And you should definitely be looking for that type of person. Like you said, a super fan that's always there supporting you and isn't getting any sort of money in return or anything like that, but is already that passionate about you. They're going to do so much for you. They're going to go above and beyond. So that's exactly who you need. Absolutely. And that's obviously what you are with Austin.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I went that route when I was just starting out and I was just hungry. I was like, cool, I managed one band. I can manage 5. Why not? So I was still in college and I was just like, I like this song. I'm going to manage you. I'm going to manage you. And it taught me a lot. It taught me my limits and I don't regret it at all. But I do see that, you know, I'm able to identify the managers that are doing that are picking up 5. And if you're out there and you're able to do it successfully, more power to you. But I felt like my mind was constantly being torn between 2 or 3 acts. And especially if they're kind of in the same realm, whether you say it or not, you are kind of competing with yourself.
Yeah.
3 rappers and you get one opportunity for South by Southwest. And you're like, how do you decide? So that's just kind of like some bias that you need to just be careful of too. But on top of that, like it's just, you want to be hyper-focused. Instead of a lot of hungry or new artist managers that I see, they kind of want to put their feet in or their hands in all the cookie jars just in case one blows up. And if that's your thought process, you need to maybe rethink, like, don't just be there for the clout. Like you want to be there for the grind, for the hustle. So it's important to just do 1 or 2 acts at a time. At least for me, my mind can't take more than that.
Yeah, I could imagine if somebody was looking after 10 plus acts, that they're really just basically keeping things organized, handling those bookings that are coming in. But I can't see them putting any extra effort in because they would be overwhelmed. They would just be literally managing what has already happened as opposed to going out and seeking new opportunities. And like you said, if you've got multiple artists who are the same, or not the same, but similar
Yeah.
It's hard because you will have to make that choice. You can't just go back to South by Southwest as the example you used and say, hey, choose one of these for me because I can't choose.
Right. Like
that's how it works.
You have to be the biggest proponent over that one that you have. I mean, yeah, if you manage a rap act and a country band, you may not ever see that. You know, you're in two different industries almost.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you see with every kind of artist, like they're meshing so much now, so you might get into that more. You know, you've got the Lil Nas X like fusing genres and everything like that. So it's just you have to be careful with that because you are going to have that. That bias, and you're going to have to choose one or the other.
Definitely. And I know that just before we went live, we were having a little conversation just for a bit of fun about Coachella. Mm-hmm. And obviously the lineup that dropped recently, and much to everyone's excitement, of course, everyone has 100 different opinions online. They have different acts that they're looking forward to seeing. But definitely just took over my social media feeds. Would it be okay if I put this up on the screen for people that are tuned in right now, just to show what I saw before? Let me just bring this up here. So, of course, this is the Coachella lineup that everyone's been talking about. If you haven't seen it by now, just log on to any of your social media sites and it's probably going to appear in your feed very quickly. So obviously quite the exciting lineup. I'm just going to take that out.
Did that say Danny Elfman?
You know what? Every time I look at it, I see another name that I didn't.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Anyway, sorry.
But what I saw today, and I wish I knew who actually created this so I could give them the credit. So if you are watching and this was your work and your research, by all means, I will happily credit you. I'm not going to say that I did this. But what we are looking at here is basically the Coachella lineup, but instead of the names of the artists that are performing, it's the agency that represents them that handles their bookings. And I just thought this was really unique and a totally different way of looking at it. So I don't really have anything specific to add to this other than just I thought it was pretty damn cool and I wanted to share it and see if anybody knows who actually took the time to do this, who created it, because I will gladly give them a shout out. And obviously I'd love to share it and tag them. And also know what was involved in the process of doing the research, because if you've ever gone into Google and tried to look for management for a specific artist, you sometimes get 10 different results. And then all these other companies that claim to be able to help you to book that particular act. So, yeah, had you seen this before today?
I hadn't. I haven't even seen the actual lineup of Coachella, to be honest. I don't think I logged in this morning much. But this just ties back into, let's tie back into artist management. I think this is interesting to see. And for the podcast people, what we're looking at is the lineup. Yeah, like you said, but it's their agency. So you see like Paradigm and CAA and WME and more Paradigm and even more Paradigm. Yeah. But I think it's interesting to point out that this just goes to show that these major agencies are kind of controlling the festival, at least when the lineup. There's a couple question marks, which could mean that they were independent. It could mean that they had to connect through the festival, or it could mean that they just couldn't find who this artist was being booked through. But I think it's interesting. It's just kind of shocking to see this, because it just puts the truth in that. Like, I deal with a lot of artists that are like, oh, I need to be on more festivals. And it's like you're just going to reach out to Coachella and be like, hey, you want to book this artist? Like, no, they go through these agencies to book. So instead of trying to spam these festivals, maybe try to get some statistics in terms of your streams or your live performance and try to get in tune with these agencies. That might be a better approach. They keep their stuff loud and proud on the internet, which is like, type in Paradigm, there's a contact you could hit up. You could then go to LinkedIn. I know you have a cool approach with LinkedIn in terms of Spotify stuff, but LinkedIn's great for networking. So cool. Type in Paradigm on LinkedIn and try to find some agents, some interns, some people in that agency to be like, hey, are you accepting any new acts? That might be a better approach than hitting up Coachella's Twitter every 3 days. Like that, the chances of that are very, very low. So tweaking your approach and your strategy to try to get booked on more festivals. I think this just kind of ties into that. Like try to get picked up by an agency. Try to not spam them, but try to apply to be considered. That might be a better approach.
Yeah, get the attention of the agency. The agency has the attention of Golden Voice, and in turn Coachella. Mm-hmm. And that might be a much better approach than trying to go directly to, like you said, hitting up the Coachella Twitter account every few days with no representation. I mean, another thing to keep in mind for an artist is, what if they came back and said, okay, what have you got? Give us your press kit. Give us some stats. Give us reasons why we should look at you. Would you be ready? Because if you worked with an agency, they're ready. They have all that information. They have all that data. They're ready. They have a case that they can put forward as to why you would be a good fit. So I always say you may feel like you're ready, but just put yourself in that position and say, what would happen if they came back to me right now and asked for all this stuff? Do I even have it? Because I shouldn't be spending my time trying to reach out and get their attention if I'm not even ready and I'm not at that level.
Right. And it's good, whether you're doing all this managerial stuff yourself as an artist, or you're an artist manager watching or listening and you're trying to get strategies on this. Try to look at it from their perspective as much as you can. Try to lead with as much empathy. Like, cool, put yourself in the booker's seat of Coachella or of Paradigm. What do you think they are looking for? Yeah, the music has to be good. Let's assume your music is already good. But what other things do you bring to the table? What other leverage do you have to make them, or if, with this example, you're pretending to be them, what would you be looking for? Do you want numbers? Do you want, like you said, a press kit? You want some kind of professional lingo in an email? Like, pretend that you're them instead of just spamming and, taking it personal. It's like, oh, the music should speak for itself. Like, come on. Like, it's got to have more than that. Like, yeah, I hope the music does speak for itself, but what else? Now you got my attention with the music. Now let's go deeper. And like you said, are you ready for that? So be prepared.
Yeah, 100%. And if you don't know what you need to have, you're looking at some resources right here. I mean, Artist Collective, shameless plug right there. But it's true. There's all these resources online that you have access to, and it's more than ever, you can get the answers to these questions that you need. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason to sit back and say, I don't know how to create a press kit, or I don't know what a press kit looks like. I mean, you can go online and you can find a press kit or a one sheet or even just a bio of an artist that you would compare yourself to or put yourself within the same category as. And you could actually use that as sort of a base to then start creating your own. Obviously not plagiarizing, but just to get some inspiration and realize what you may need to start putting in to create your story and create a strong press kit for yourself. And start gathering that stuff as soon as you can, because as things happen in your career, whether it's you get editorial placement on Spotify and Apple Music, or whether you headline a show with a well-known act, and there's photos of you on stage performing with them, things like that. You need to start building that story and holding on to that, because that's going to help you when you get to that next level. And like we said, it doesn't necessarily mean that is going directly to a major festival, but it could be helping you when you start to get the attention of one of those agencies. and you can present that with them, and they can see that you've already done some of the work, you've started to build your story, and then they can come in and help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important, again, to tie it back into what we like to focus artists on, is figuring out that why. Like, no artist is just an artist anymore. They also game. They also, start their own podcast. They do cover videos. They're actors. They're promoters. They're managers themselves. So really figuring out, like you said, what your story is and what sets you apart. So you're not just another act that plays music on stage and you want to be booked at a festival. Like, how can you connect with that, with Coachella's why? Like, maybe they're doing a special this year where they're focusing on, the fires in Australia or something. It's like, how can you present, hey, guess what? I'm actually a huge proponent in this. You can check I did a blog post, I did an interview regarding this issue. Boom. Now you've stood out more than just being an artist. You have connected with why they're doing their made up why right now. But so figuring out how you can connect and just having some self-awareness and who you are as an artist. And I'm talking to, the authentic artists, not the Marilyn Mansons out there where they're creating a persona. Most artists nowadays are, wanting to be, their authentic selves. So figuring that out and building that story, whether that's, in a blog post form or in a one sheet or a press kit, figure that out and then find opportunities that match the same things that your story is. I think you'll have more success with that than just trying to appeal to everyone and just say, I play music. Like that. You've got to, there's a lot of those out there. So try to find ways to stand out.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's, if you want to talk about artists that are doing exactly that and stand out and are unique, I can't say enough about Lizzo. Personally, she is 100% herself and she is having an amazing time. And she's so her stage presence, I haven't had the opportunity to be there in the crowd, but I've seen video from people who have attended some of her shows recently. She has a way of making it feel like she's everywhere on that stage at once, even though it's just her and a DJ and maybe 4 other dancers on stage. She just owns it. And she is herself. She has her own look. She has her own fashion sense. She has her own style. She has her own sense of humor. She has everything. And that's what makes her unique, and that's what makes her stand out. And that's what artists need to do. Right now, it's like Lil Nas X as well. He was unique. He decided, you know what? I don't care about genres. I made this because I wanted to make it. It was fun. Everyone else thought it was fun. I didn't expect it to be this big, but I'm having fun. I'm going to keep doing this. He didn't do it to become rich or to become famous. He was doing it because that was him. And that was what he wanted to do, just have fun with it. So, it's really important for those artists out there. Just be unique, be yourself. Otherwise, you're going to end up absolutely loathing what you do in a few years' time if you're making music just to try and, whether it's trying to please everyone, which is impossible, or you feel that there's a certain niche that you're going after, but it's not where your heart is. It will show.
Yeah. What's the saying? If you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happens. Lizzo's a good example. An example I use is the rapper. His name's NF. You know who that is? He's from Michigan. He's similar to Eminem, but he has a very dark history of mental health issues, and he's very vocal about it in his music. And by owning that that's a part of his life, and that's just that's his vibe, and that's his brand. He's attracted people specifically in the teen genre of other people who are dealing with mental issues because he's so vocal about it. So just Lizzo's living her best life and being very positive and unique, but it's just the flip side of that. Somebody else is kind of taking a more somber approach, but he's also able to find his brand and stand out from all the other rappers who can rap kind of fast. It's taking a step forward from that. So I agree. It's very, very important to, and not even go out to try to be unique, but just be your true self. Because you'll also see artists go out of their way to just be unique, and if it's not authentic and unique, then it's worthless. So just and fans will be able to see through that, like, oh, you're just doing this because it's popular right now. Like, just be authentic. Just do that and find that niche, and eventually that niche will grow outside of those group of people that only like this very specific thing. It will, word of mouth will start, because that's how we all got turned on to Lizzo. Like, I didn't necessarily was a huge fan of her then, but now I can't walk down the street without hearing her music, because it's kind of grown from there. So a lot of artists go straight to the, I want to appeal to everybody who has ears. I want them to hear, that they would like my music. It's like, that's a little, it's a little egotistical. Like, who are the group of people that describe the group of people that would really dig your music and dig your brand and what your vibe, and then build from there is really important. And to tie it back into artist management, in one of these, I'm going to pull up this quote from a chat I did with, her name's Felicity Ryan. She's another artist manager out in LA. She said that, I can't find the quote right now. She said something like, managers aren't here to color, they're here to enhance. So they're not here to create a story for you. They're here to enhance the story that you already have and pull that out and bring that to different opportunities. So they're not there to create something that isn't there. So don't think that if you don't really know your why, like, they're not getting a manager isn't going to suddenly get your niche audience, but it can help lead you to that. So just something to bring up. I thought it was important.
Yeah.
But yeah, within that chat, something worth bringing up, I have pulled up here. We kind of pulled out the 4 pillars that we believe that an artist should be enhancing before even seeking a manager. Like, make sure that these 4 are at least like being worked on. Is having a catalog, building brand equity, gaining super fans, and setting up revenue streams. So we believe that having those 4 and like focusing, if you're just like, hey, I make music, like, what, I need a manager to like help focus me, like, focus on these 4 first. So a catalog, get music, like, get it, like, don't sit on music that's unreleased, like, release your music. Like we've talked about again and again with Spotify, like, using that release radar, using those things that are just built-in algorithms, get that music out there, build that brand equity, figure out what you're about, figure out, what color scheme you're going to use, and, basic things like that. Even getting those super fans. So figuring out what your niche audience is, instead of just people who like blues music or whatnot. Like, cool, they like blues music, and they primarily live here. You just get a target audience, at least a similar thing together, and setting up those revenue streams. So figuring out what a PRO is. If you don't have things registered properly, that's a Google search away. You can find that out on Artist Collective. You can find that out on Mike's awesome blog that he's very vocal about. Cool things a lot of free things that you just sign up for and you can get paid, like Pandora, things like that. So getting those revenue streams set up. So if you can focus on those 4 things, and you can bring those 4 and say, hey, manager, potential manager, here's my 4 pillars and here's how they're strengthened. I want you to enhance this. Then you can bend someone's ear a lot easier than just saying, I'm ready for a manager.
I really like that. It's funny, the way that you were talking about, I know we were just talking about managers, but for some artists who are, essentially they want to be signed by a major. They want the attention of a major. They see value in signing with a major. I always like to compare it to the TV show Shark Tank. And I'm not referring to record labels as sharks, so hear me out here. But what I'm saying is, when people go onto Shark Tank, they could have a great idea. The product just looks awesome, but it's only a prototype. They haven't taken their first shipment yet, and they haven't made any sales. And so the sharks basically say, look, I really like it. come back to me in 6 months. I may be one of your first customers, but I can't help you today because I can't buy 15% of zero. And it's similar for an artist. If you're looking for somebody, you need to go out and you need to get started first, because imagine that they are investing in you. They're going to look at you and they're going to go, okay, you've had some success on some playlists. You've made it into a few music charts. You've secured some pretty good gigs for yourself. You've created a music video. You've done these other things. You've checked these boxes off. You've got some strengths. You've got some value. I can now contribute my time towards growing you and helping you get to that next level. And so it's going to be a lot better to go to them where you've already done something. You've already taken those steps. You've already had some growth, and then they can help you to grow from there. So yeah, I really like the way that you put that. It's and for a manager, it's even Scooter Braun, when he was, I love his story when he was sitting up late at night on YouTube watching videos hour after hour of just these kids performing. And then he saw Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber was already doing it, already putting these videos online, recording, singing, doing it, just kept going. And then eventually got noticed and was somewhat more ready at that point. And then, of course, look at what happened from there. It wasn't just cute kid sings on YouTube and sings well. It was turned into a superstar. Mm-hmm. So, any work that you can put in yourself, do that and don't wait for somebody else. And you may find that they'll come and find you instead of you finding them.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't just do a few things and then sit and wait for that scooter to stumble upon your YouTube video. Like, keep pushing. Cause like you said, I think that is a really good thing. And that's what I mentioned about like being brainwashed, is like everybody's brainwashed to think that, Scooter just like was looking in Justin's window while he was playing secretly in his room. Like, no, Justin was, him and his mom were hustling to try to get his YouTube videos out there. And that was, of course, back when YouTube was like probably first existing. So it was a little, the organic reach was a little easier, but they took that first step to actually, cool, now I have to figure out how YouTube works. How do I get more people to see it? How do I run ads? Whatever it might be. They were hustling and doing that stuff first. It didn't just kind of fall in their laps. So yeah, I like the Shark Tank example too, because I've also seen them, to play devil's advocate, people who do have zero things, but they are so prepared and they're like, hey, I came up with this in like a month. I have no sales. This is what I'd love to offer. And they have taken those deals, but they're like 0.1% of that. It's like you want to chance that instead of actually starting it on your own. And a lot of that just comes from that fear of failure. They don't want to start. They think that having Big Brother coming in and with a plan is suddenly gonna make them feel better. But so getting over that fear of failure and just releasing that music, that song that you don't think is quite done yet, release it. Great. Get some feedback. Maybe it needed mixed a little bit better. Awesome. Great. Do that for next time. Fail and continue to bring out a catalog. Because the biggest thing I come across is amazing artists, amazing musicians that never release anything, or at least tell the world that they're an artist because, they're scared or it's not quite ready yet. And I think that's a huge mistake. Instead, just putting out what you have, like even if it's on SoundCloud, just put something out and learn from the mistakes and move on. Like, it's not like, it's like they're waiting for the first time for them to, they want 1 million streams off that first song that they release. Like, no, it takes time. It takes repetition to continue to release music and figure out your brand and try these things and fail and do these things. So it's really is a grind, but you just have to start. You just have to try things and see if they work.
Yeah, that's it. And you have to put it out, and consistency is key, because nobody will be interested in you if you say, yeah, I put out one song about 1 year ago. It didn't do that well. And I've got 6 other songs here that I haven't put out. Put those 6 songs out.
Yeah.
If 2 years down the line, you don't want those songs out anymore and you release them yourself, you can remove them. You can remove them overnight with most distributors. So there's really no reason to hesitate or to be embarrassed. The worst thing that somebody will do is skip over to the next song. And even if that happens with a number of people, there's still going to be some people that will connect with your music. And then the next time you put out the next track, hopefully they're already following you and you reach them. And then you start to build up your fans, and eventually you start to get those super fans. And I'm sure that you've heard many people talking about the fact that you really don't need that many super fans to be able to have a sustainable career. And, you know, super fans, for people that don't know, are the ones that will come to every show that they can. They'll purchase your merchandise without hesitation. They'll wear your t-shirt, which is the best thing that you can achieve for an artist, is somebody actually paying for an advertisement and wearing it proudly. You know, and they'll probably spend about $1,000 every year on you in merchandise and everything else that they're doing, traveling to your shows, things like that. So those super fans are really gold.
Yeah, I mean, I even have I have a training as a part of the Artist Collective membership that I just released called the 3 Steps to Your First 1,000 Super Fans. And it's the steps that you really should focus on first, and at least have a conversation with even yourself on how to build those. We can provide a link on where to get that as well. But it talks about, I mean, look at 1,000 super fans. I mean, some people have, 20,000 followers on Instagram. So I'm talking about 1,000 super fans that will spend $100 or more in money or some type of value, whether that means telling a friend about you and your music or whatever. I mean, you're making $100,000 a year off of just those 1,000 people. So if you look at it that way, like $100 a year is not a lot. Like, that's a couple tickets. That's several thousand streams, which a lot of super fans have that on repeat. There's things that you can set up with these people. So a lot of times these super fans kind of get overlooked, and that's a mistake in my mind. The artists are too more after the quantity and not the quality of fans. They overlook those fans instead of cultivating a real relationship with the one-on-one people that could potentially start spending that $100 per year. They treat them like every other person who says, I like your music, or presses like on Instagram. So I like to focus on, let's find those 1,000 people, like right now. Where are they? How can you identify them? What should you do to cultivate? Because you can't just immediately, you're not going to immediately ask for a date. You're gonna cultivate a little bit and then go for the sale. Cool. Can you maybe buy some merch? So we kind of talk about ways to cultivate that. But yeah, that's a great point about the super fan building. And you just have to, a lot of that just takes some more self-awareness and some more reflection on how are you a fan, first of all? Like, how are you as an artist? How are you treating the artist that you like as being a fan? So that's a good way to identify when other fans are potentially super fans. So that's a good point.
Yeah, that's it. And, super fans have always been around, and a lot of the times they would be the ones that would really own the online fan communities for artists. So to the point where they would even start a website just to show how much of a fan they are of that artist or that band. And eventually what would happen is, most of the time they would get a nice message from somebody working with the band, or even the band themselves, or a representative, saying, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. We'd like to invite you to our show, maybe come backstage, meet the group. Those people that do that without looking for anything in return other than just to let people know how much they love that music and raise awareness, they're your super fans. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everyone says, I can't see every single person that follows me on Spotify or Apple Music, or everyone that necessarily subscribed to me on YouTube. I can't work out who they are. I would say just ask. Just go live, wherever you go live, or post even do a quick video and just say, hey, do you consider yourself a fan? What would you do to get to my next show, to come backstage, to meet me? What would you do to meet the band? And obviously you would get a bunch of different responses, but you would probably get the fans that would say stuff like, I will drive 2,000 miles to come to your next show if I get the opportunity to meet you. I'm a true fan. I have everything that you've released. I even started this Twitter account because I'm such a fan, and I repost everything that you do. What else can I do to prove to you that I'm a super fan? And I feel like if you give them an opportunity to reach out to you and prove that to you, they will.
Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. Just, if you don't know who your super fans are, just ask. I love that. I love that you said that. Just ask them. And a lot of times you'll be able to identify, like, oh, this person's like always the first one to comment. I know it was a big thing that Gary Vee did for a while when I followed him, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He did the 60-second club. So he would do, every time he did a post, if you commented and then included the hashtag 60-second club, meaning you have to do it in the first 60 seconds that he posts it, he'll choose someone to like win a free book or like a chance to meet him. That was his way of asking, who's my super fans? Who's my super fans? Let me identify them. Then he got a good list of who his super fans were, and like, you can use that as data. Send them all free stickers, send them all free t-shirts, reach out to them, cultivate, because those are the ones actually reaching out and in the first 60 seconds going and hurrying up and commenting. Like, even if it's not a long drawn out thing, like, I would do this and that and this, like, just listen to the small things, just ask and identify the people who are reaching out. I think is an even simpler way of finding those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy. It's happened so many times. I mean, I've seen it happen with other artists out there. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. There's no pain in asking, as long as it's nice and you're not asking people to just give you something or do something for you because you asked. You know, hey, do you consider yourself a super fan? Yes. Okay, great. They're going to tell you that they're a super fan, and then they're going to show you why. And then, of course, you'll be able to see that. You'll pay more closer attention to them. If you start seeing that they're the first person to purchase tickets to all of your shows and they are liking all of your posts, then yes, they're living up to that. And then you know that you should work more closely with them and just maybe even just give them a heads up when you're doing something cool. Tell them it one day before when you can. Just say, hey, you know, I'm playing in your city next month. I can't announce it just yet. I'm announcing it tomorrow, but I wanted to let you know now. And, you know, there's so many opportunities there to reward them and to make them into an even more super fan. So a super fan, if you will. But what you mentioned with Gary Vee, that was interesting because that is a really good strategy for a way to get people to turn on notifications for you. So Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I think Instagram and a few others, you can actually go to somebody's profile and go, notify me, literally a push notification to my phone the second that they do a new post or they go live or whatever the case is, whatever you're following, so that you can always see that. So if you do have an artist that you love and you truly want to support and you consider yourself a super fan, go and turn on those notifications. And every time they post, if you're near your device and you can jump on and comment, just jump on and give them some love every time, because they, like you said, they will notice that. I mean, a lot of people will post and they'll sit there for maybe 10, 20 seconds where they'll look and see what those first few likes and comments are. Then, of course, they'll go back to whatever they were doing and come back later. But if every time they post, they almost immediately see your name appearing again and again, that they will notice that. Mm-hmm. And with all of the information we have access to now and all of the insights that we have, it will start to tell them who their super fans are. I know Periscope will tell you who tunes into the most of your live streams, and who watches the replays the most and how many times they've even watched them. So you can go in there and immediately see who your super fans are, click directly to their profile and reach out to them. And it doesn't matter what stage you're at as an artist. Even if you know that person, great, that's easy. Call them and just say, hey, I see you've been watching all of my videos. That's amazing. I really appreciate it. I know you're a friend. I know your family, but to see you doing that is great. Even more so if it's somebody that you don't know. Most of the time, they're not aware that you're seeing that until you first connect with them and you go and say, hey, I see that you've watched a lot of my live streams. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Do you have any suggestions for something that you would like me to do on a future live stream? By the way, I'd love to give you a shout out as well. Would it be okay? And you'd be amazed at what would happen. That person went from a fan to the next level.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. And with the Gary Vee thing, him just creating that custom hashtag, even if he's not, him or his team isn't able to go in there and see who commented first. Now, just by clicking and going into that hashtag 60-second club, which I believe he created for himself, every post that's on there and that's tagged, and every user that's tagged to that, he knows that those are his super fans. So he just created a custom folder to find all of his potential super fans. And I really liked that you said that most people aren't aware that you're seeing that, and that's great. Guess what? Give them that positive reinforcement, like you said. That's only going to make them want to share your stuff even more. A strategy that I've been doing I've been posting like screenshots of my tweets and like some random thoughts that I have in my notes, and those seem to be doing the best for my personal brand on Instagram. It's just screenshots, and a lot of what you can do is you can go and press the 3 dots, and it says view story reshares. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it will actually show you anyone that has shared your post to their story, even if they haven't tagged you. Most people they're like, oh, that post resonated with me, share. And they don't tag you. They don't do it on purpose. They just don't think of tagging you. But since they don't tag you, you aren't notified instantly that they do that. So those are insights that a lot of times are just sitting there. So what I've been doing is I'm going and saying view story reshare, and I'm going to see who's sharing them. And I'm going and starting a conversation. I'm like, yo, thanks for sharing this. Like, I ask them like, why did this resonate with you? Or do you have any other thoughts? So it's exactly the strategy you're saying, is kind of diving deeper, because those people are liking your content so much that they're sharing it to their stories. Those are your super fans. Don't overlook them because you're looking for, more comments or more this or more that. These are people that are sharing your content. Cultivate that relationship. Maybe you hit them up and say, hey, thanks for sharing this. I'm going to send you some free tickets. Hey, thanks for sharing this. I'm going to send you a link to the folder of all my unreleased music. I'd love to see what you think. I'm trying to get my fans to, find my next single. Have them involved in the process. And that's kind of how you cultivate those super fans. Because like you said, most people are just kind of sharing it and they're just like, no, they don't notice me or whatever. Let them know that you're noticing and that you appreciate it, because you know that next time they're going to share it and they're going to tag you this time, because they're like, oh yeah, he hit me up and I could tell that, he maybe wanted me to tag him. So I'm going to do it this time. So coming at it like be genuine, of course, but in the understanding of just like, yo, show them some gratitude. It's going to come back at you again and again. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you feel that you don't have anything of value, you can't afford to mail them a t-shirt, send them a CD, you don't have any downloadable files of your music that you want to share or whatever, the simplest thing you can do if you want to blow their mind, and this is just an idea, is go into direct message and hit that button and record a 10-second video of yourself just saying, hey, Evan, I saw that you shared my latest post in your story. I know you didn't tag me. I still got notified. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I see that you're also following me. I'm going to give you a follow back now. Be cool to hear more from you in the future. Thank you. And, you do that for those. They took the time to share your story, your post as a story. you took the time, 10 seconds to record that video. You literally hold your finger on the button and you record it in one take and you let go and it's done. And that's it. And that could be the highlight of their day.
Yeah.
And there's not that many artists out there that are doing that. And it really doesn't take that long. And that's another way that you're getting those people to go to that next level from just, oh, I like their music and they say some cool stuff sometimes, or I like what they post, into, wow, they actually pay attention when I share this. And you'd be surprised. They'll probably start using your music in their stories. They'll probably start tagging their friends in your posts and telling them to check out your music.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, you're planting a seed at that point. You just taking the time, even if they, at that moment, they don't realize how big of a deal that really was. Your song's going to come up on their release radar. They're going to be like, oh yeah, that's the guy that sent me a direct message and said how cool I was for sharing his stuff. I'm going to give it a listen. Oh my gosh, this song is actually really cool. So you're planting a seed for things to happen. May not happen right this moment, but you're kind of building up to that. So it's just good to, pay it forward and see what happens. And don't do it in hopes that they're going to do that for you. You should do it because you really do appreciate them, because when you hear it again and again, all these artists going up on stage and getting awards, and first thing they say is, I want to thank my fans. I couldn't be here without them. That is literally true. They're saying that because it's true. They are nowhere. If nobody listened to their music and nobody liked them, they would not be successful. I don't care how big of a label they're at. So the fans are everything. So even if you have one or two people that are your super fans, great. They, worship them. You need to just worship them. Do everything you can to help them out and let them know that you're grateful, and watch it build. Yeah,
that's it. And you'd be surprised. One thing, with that video that I mentioned, I didn't ask them to do anything. I just thanked them. And it will get to the point where you wouldn't even need to ask them anything. If you just told them, hey, I'm announcing a tour tomorrow. I'm so excited. I just wanted to let you know. You don't need to go, can you share this? Can you tell everyone? Can you tag your friends? They'll just be so grateful that you shared that with them first, that they'll be the ones that will go out and tell everyone because they're happy to. And you didn't even have to ask.
Yeah.
And that's truly a super fan. It's there's artists out there that are doing some crazy stuff on social media. They'll, hey everyone, I've got a brand new t-shirt that I've just released and it's $85 and it sells out in 10 minutes. People just go, I have to have it. I need it. I want that. And that they are super fans. Nobody is just going and spending that much on a t-shirt because it looks cool. They're doing that because they're a super fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we've been talking for about an hour here. I'm feeling pretty good about the length of this. I'm super grateful I was able to get you for so long, knowing how crazy your schedule is right now and all the exciting things you've got coming up. I mean, this isn't the only conversation you've got going on this week. You mentioned that there's a few other things you're doing. Would you like to give those a plug to anyone that wants a little bit more Evan in their week?
For sure. So yeah, later this week on Thursday, is it today, Tuesday? Yeah, on Thursday, I am chatting with a company called Jamber, who has created a revolutionary app, I think, for songwriters in particular, songwriters, artists, and publishers. And they're going to have a conversation. So basically what we're doing is every week we're doing some new training on an application or a strategy or just like, a new topic within the music industry. And this week it's about royalties. It's about what are royalties? How does money flow through music? And out of those 4 pillars I mentioned earlier about strengthening before looking for a manager, one of them is revenue streams. So a lot of what's missed is there's so many royalties that are left on the table by artists because they just, they're overwhelmed with how many ways that you need to register, how many organizations, and just the 2 or 3 sides of royalties. So this training will dive into how money moves through music royalties, and they're going to showcase their new app called Splits, which allows a songwriter to literally on their application register one song, assign it to different songwriters, whether there's 4 songwriters or, just you, and it registers that one song to all of the various organizations needed. BMI, ASCAP, Sound Exchange, Song Trust, Harry Fox. It registers to all of those. So it streamlines the process. It's going to save you so much time. So I'm really excited about it. And they're going to showcase it, and they're going to show you how you can kind of start with this revolutionary music industry strategy right now. So that is Thursday. It's free to sign up to join the live training. If you're an Artist Collective member, you're going to get all of these trainings every week on top of the recordings afterwards, all the links, some downloadable content, and some more things to kind of add to your independent artist tool belt. So if you are interested in joining the entire membership, I do have a 30-day trial right now. Just try it for a month. You get a bunch of trainings, a bunch of stuff, and cancel it at the end if it's not for you, just like you would Netflix. But I'm on a rant this year about just how overwhelmed everyone is on their streaming platforms. Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus. There's so many of these, but I still see artists still not investing what they do towards consuming this content into their own music careers. So I challenge to anybody who's kind of on the fence about things like this, come and try our membership. And if you like it so much, I encourage you to cancel 1 or 2 of your streaming services instead and move it over to us. And you'll get content that was going to expand your growth and just expand your knowledge on the industry. So starts on Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time. I think you've got that link there. Yeah, just come sign up. I just need your email. We can get started there. But yeah, that's what's going on this week.
Awesome. Very cool. And yeah, I'll be joining in on that as well. Obviously, I won't be participating, but I will be in the audience because I am very interested in that, especially anything that can give me back some time when it comes to registering music with multiple PROs and things like that. It's one of those things that I will be the first to admit that I've actually had times where I've released a track and forgot to register it. And fortunately, been able to go back and correct that. But the day that your music comes out, you're making money somewhere. And if you don't go and claim that money, then it goes into a giant pool and it goes to everyone else who has taken the time to register their music. So there's money sitting out there. So this is a great opportunity to go and get that money that is sitting there waiting for you and make sure that you are getting that money moving forward as well.
Right. And I know why it's so overwhelming. I mean, trying to register your song to Sound Exchange is a nightmare. I'm sorry, I'll say it on your live. It is a nightmare. It's an old school Excel document that you have to fill out the exact way. It's just overwhelming. So I know why it gets skipped a lot. But when you're looking at like, oh, I'm not making any money, well, that's because you haven't taken these steps, even if it takes a while to fill these out. But I hope that this application will help that process. I've already started using the application. It's incredible. And they'll kind of tease their next app, which is called Money, which is the entryway to Money is you have to go through their Splits app first, of course. But Money allows you to streamline all of your songwriter royalties and publishing royalties into one pot instead of going to all these different areas and saying, do I have money? They all get paid out in different areas. So this allows you to track. And I know how you love all your analytics. It shows you where it's coming from. I'm pretty sure it, don't quote me, we'll find out on Thursday, but it includes even like Spotify revenue and stuff. So you can see it. It's just the analytics it gives you is going to be game changing. So I look forward to checking that out with everybody too.
Awesome. So aside from obviously what's happening later this week, where is the best place for people to follow you and Artist Collective online?
Yeah, our website is artistcollect.com. You can follow me on Instagram and pretty much everywhere at AC_Evan. On my Twitter, it's Evan_AC. But if you type in one of those, I'm pretty sure I'll come up. But on Instagram as well as Artist Collect, is at Artist Collect. There you go. Yeah, I manage both of those pages. So shoot me a DM. Let's chat. If you have some more questions and before you want to jump on board, if you want that trial link, if you just want to have a conversation about maybe if you're ready for a manager or not, I'd love to have that convo.
Excellent. And we are going to wrap up the live stream portion of this now. But for anyone that is watching this or catching the replay, please leave comments, ask questions. Evan, I'll make sure that I tag Evan if there's any questions in there directed to you that you may have missed. And please, we're here to help. We're here to answer those questions that other people may not answer for you. And we're here to give you a little guidance if you need it. So make sure that you go to artistcollect.com and take up Evan's offer and check it out. As mentioned, he's not taking any money from you up front. You can go and try it out, see if it's the right fit for you. You may find out that all of a sudden you do have a little time each day to invest in yourself, and it's worth doing. So it doesn't hurt to take a look and check it out. And Evan, is there anything else that you would like to get in before we wrap this up today?
I think that's it. Yeah. Anybody that's kind of just on the fence on like, you want to do this full time, but you're not quite sure how. My best advice to you is just to start. I mean, you're already starting. If you've watched this far into this video right now, an hour and 10 minutes, you're on the right track. But you just need to do it yourself, to be honest, until anyone else is going to be interested. You've got to do your best in terms of business and music. And before a manager, whether it's a manager or a label, just you have to have some kind of backing that you've pushed yourself before anyone else gets on board. So yeah, just research all you can. Just get involved with the resources like Mike's and like mine, and just keep building. Just keep focusing on your music.
Perfect. Evan, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing for artists, and continue sharing that information, sharing that knowledge. And that goes to anyone out there. When you learn something, it's okay to share. It's okay to help each other. You're not in competition with anyone else but yourself. There's enough room for everybody out there. So let's just keep sharing all this goodness. Let's keep helping each other out. And Evan, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Definitely.
Good luck, guys. See you.